Okay.
All right, we're ready. Let's get it.
Hi, my name is Ashley, and thank you for coming today. Before we get started, I want to just get like a survey of my audience, get to know you guys. How many of you know what a devotion is? All right, that's great, awesome. How many of you have done a devotion in your life? Sweet. How many of you have gotten something from a devotion? That's awesome. Well, in my life, I have been doing devotions since I was a junior in high school, so that's when I first really got to know Christ. And a devotion for me is something that has really been monumental in my life. My senior year, I was going through a really hard transitional phase of getting to know who I am and what I want to do with my life. And so my senior year, I spent every single day in the library instead of eating at lunch. I used to sit by myself in the corner of the library and read from Ephesians. And I read from Ephesians all through my senior year. And if you know Ephesians, it's this book about encouraging. This book that is encouraging this church in Ephesus to know and to continue on the path that they're going. And at that time, God really was speaking to me of just continue on the path that you're going. So devotions are something that can speak to you daily, but what are three things that they do? Number one, they grow in your faith. If you spend time with someone daily, if you spend time with your friend daily, you're going to get to know them more. You're going to get to know the little ticks that make them work. You're going to get to know the way they speak and start to talk like them and start to walk like them and be the same person that they are. Number two, it enhances your memorization on a practical level. If you're reading something daily, the way your brain will work is it becomes easier and easier to read. It becomes easier to memorize something if you're trying to memorize daily. And on a spiritual level, memorization of a verse will help you provide verses when you need it. So if someone is asking if this is a sin or if something is different or if something like they're confused on a Bible verse or the context behind something, if you know a Bible verse, you can bring it up right away. So memorization helps you in your daily life with walking with other Christians or people who aren't Christians. And beyond that, devotions really gets you to learn about God, to learn about the Father, to learn about what His will for us and what His call is for your life. You get to learn about His love and His sacrifice for us, and it's something that really just provides you a time where you can rest and you can have peace, especially if you're going through a really hard time in your life. You can have a 2-minute peace in your life before you go on to the storm and the craziness and the busyness of life. So you may be at this point in my speech and be like, Ashley, we get it, do devotions. But what is that? How do I apply it? How does that make sense to my life? Well, to your life, you can do three things. One of them is you can cut time out of your schedule and guard it with all that you've got. If you cut time out of your schedule and put 10 minutes in your day where you're going to say, this is my Jesus time and no one's going to mess with my Jesus time because I would be crazy if I don't get it. If you guard that time, that 10 minutes, that 2 minutes, that 5 minutes, you will really spend those three principles in your life. You will learn more about God, you'll be able to understand His will, and you will be able to memorize verses. So beyond just cutting out time, you need to make sure that you're actually reading. You're not just looking at scripture and being like, awesome, that was good today, let's move on. But you're actually getting to know the context and the understanding what the devotion means for you and applying it to your life. Like a few days ago, I read in Ephesians, and it was funny because I was reading Galatians before, and Galatians is like a chapter that's all about growth and about forcing people and say, hey, you're doing stuff wrong. And Ephesians is about encouraging you to continue doing the same thing that you're doing. So when I read Ephesians, I applied it to my life in the way of I'm doing a lot of good things, even though I'm not doing like certain things, but I am doing a lot of good things. So God is saying continue to do that in my life. And that's just an example of the many different scriptures that you can find and applications. So if I were to tell you to do one thing, to do devotions daily, is soap it. We talk about soap a lot here at New Life, and soap is scripture, observation, application, and prayer. So read a scripture, observe what it means, find the context of it, apply it to your life, and then pray about it. Pray to God and say, hey, this is what I read today. This is how I feel like I should apply it. What do you feel about that? What are you trying to tell me to do? What are you calling me to do in my life? So devotions are more than a 2-minute time that you can just read through a book and get over it. Devotions are something that grows your faith. Devotions are something that enhances your memorization. And devotions are something that get you to learn about God and His will for your life. So thank you for having me today. I appreciate every single one of you for sticking around and hearing what I have to say. Thank you so much.